All right, everybody, welcome to Class 5, Part 4, Glowing Color and the Luminous Landscape. This is the part where we get to look at all of your guys's beautiful work. I'm thrilled to get to explore and then rip into you guys and tear your paintings apart.
Good.
Good, yeah, it's the new me.
Do you need to pause it for your parts? I mean,
What's that?
do you need to pause it for the recorded segments?
Oh, I did. Yep, I did stop it.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, you're good. Thanks for asking. All right, so we are on our Padlet page. Everybody seeing it?
Yeah.
And this time we're starting at the end. And Shaunak, are you available to talk a little bit?
Yes.
All right, bud, let's talk about your painting here. Complementary colors. All right, is that the painting you'd like to discuss, or do you have
Yeah,
some?
that's the only one that's the newest one.
It is, but yeah, you can talk about any one you want that you're most interested in getting feedback. But yeah, if this is the one, let's do it. Or is
Yeah,
that
sure.
great?
Yeah, sure.
All right, great. So tell me a little bit about how you're using complementary colors here and what you enjoyed and what you might like some feedback or advice on.
So the complementary colors I used was like pink because I had a lot of it left over from the previous sunset painting that I'd done. And then I decided to just do like a simple landscape with green complementing it. And it's really small, so it was fun to do on a piece of paper. I don't really know what I would change, but if there's any critiques.
I do have critiques a little bit here for you. Great color choice. Here's something interesting about color is that pink is not actually really considered so much a color, even though if you ask anybody like, what's your favorite color, they'll say pink or whatever else, but pink is actually more of a tint. So a tint is when you add white to a color and change it to a, another version of it. And so that's something that you might want to think about going forward, even though, yeah, pink and green go really well together. But pink is a tint of red, meaning added red, you've added white to it versus a shade. A shade would mean you've added black or darkened the red. So just going forward, that's just something to be aware of, but not really important because still pink and green are great colors together. Yeah, I love the colors. Let's talk a tiny bit about how we can make it a little bit better. Just like I just did, where the light is coming across, you may want to create a bit of a transition because I imagine these are actually hills. It's like a grass hill that goes up this trail, and then these are kind of hills that are far off in the distance, right?
Yeah.
So you probably could soften these edges a little bit and they'll feel like they're actually a little further back. Sharp edges want to come forward, strong contrast wants to come forward, meaning towards the viewer. Softer edges and softer contrasts as a general rule will recede back into space.
How do I soften the edges? Just make it like warmer or
Yeah, you can literally just take a bit of pink and a bit of black and do a little mixture because I know you use acrylics and mix that color together and it'll become a grayish pink and just put a little band of it there and just soften it so it's not like a super hard edge because truthfully this is one of the hardest edges in your whole painting. If we look around, so my eye keeps going to this because our eyes as humans are attracted to contrast. And again, we have contrast of dark and light, and this is the darkest, it's an equa dark of this, and this is the lightest area. So our eye is drawn to it for that reason. We have a contrast of, light and dark. And then we also have our eyes also attracted to the contrast of line. So this creates a crisp line. So crisp lines our eyes are also attracted to, where soft lines, soft transitions our eye just kind of skims across. See this area up here, how you have this transition of colors?
Uh-huh.
My eye just skims across it, but where it gets a little firmer here, my eye follows it. So that's a great tool to know, when to use it and when to, get rid of it. So if you really want, if this is your focus, perfect. But if this is your focus, then you may want to soften this up a little bit. And if you want this to fall back into space, you may want to soften it up a little bit. The other thing is that this trail is exactly the same color and value all the way through it. So it actually becomes quite flat as a shape. Like if you're able to just think of this as an interesting curvy shape, it becomes flat and almost wants to stand up. So if you want it to go back into depth, you probably want to either darken it as further away and goes towards the light, or you want to cool this down. There's a couple different ways you can do that. But just knowing that this solid pink band just flattens it out. The other thing is, do you see the white that you've added to your green here? And
Yeah.
then here as well? So you see how when you add white, all of a sudden it becomes cold. You've
Mhm.
got this warm sky. And I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to say, look, this tree, these branches are looking towards the sun. So the sun is hitting this more than this. Am I right?
Yeah.
But because it's cool and the light source is warm, it doesn't feel harmonious to the painting. So I would make it a warmer light.
But the yellow, add some yellow.
But yeah, you could add pink, you could add yellow, you can add whatever you want to your greens, but you just want that to warm up. Again, just kind of like I just did in the where I was glazing in, is I was just warming up areas, right, where I wanted it to be affected by the light that's behind it. Conversely, this is probably really thick foliage, a lot of leaves in here. So this could actually probably be quite dark, like almost as dark as the trunk, because it's really quite thick. It's not seeing light. A lot of times when the sun is setting, we see objects in space almost as silhouettes. You can have some detail and some information, but this could actually probably get darker on there. And then you can, again, have that band of light where the light is wrapping on the other side a little bit if you wanted to. If these grasses here where they're lighter are being affected by this light, then they're going to be a little bit oranger where they're catching that light. If they're being affected by the reflected light from the dome of the sky, then that light's going up to the dome, bouncing back down and getting into here. What color do you think these grasses then
Like
are?
pinkish.
Yeah, there you go. So you got to think about, and I know you're a science guy, how does light travel? The temperature of light is very important. Warm light creates warm lights. Warm light creates often cold shadows. And then a lot of times when we have when you're looking at the sunset, especially here, you can tell the sun is already set. So all of the light that we're seeing here is not from the sun. It's from the reflected light bouncing off the dome of the sky and coming back down. Does that make sense, Shanak?
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff that I didn't learn until I was 8 years older than you are now. So, if this does make sense and if it's useful to you, you're light years ahead. So you're doing great work, bud. I'm not trying to bash on you, but I'm just trying to give you a leg up and give you a head start. Really nice. I love the contrast, and you did the assignment perfectly. Those are just if you want to take it to the next level, things to think
Okay.
about.
Thank
Perfect,
you.
man. Thanks, bud. Good to talk to you. All right, Sharon, I know you had to leave here in a little bit. Are you still around?
I don't have to leave, that's not me. I would like for you to do both pictures because you never did critique my ocean picture.
Okay, let's see if we can do it. I'm gonna set my timer and see how quick I can do
You can do it fast.
it. We'll see. Not my strong suit. All right, Sharon, let's look at your awesome seascape here. And tell me a little bit about what you like and disliked, or what you learned and would like to learn more about in this painting.
I have never done an ocean picture before. You know, so anything you can tell me would be very useful in the future. I like my clouds.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
maybe my white or this light coming down or is maybe a little heavy off of the moon. I don't know. You tell me.
All in all, it's quite nice. I mean, it really has a nice harmony. It feels good. As far as like creating, darks out of, did you make these darks using the primary palette?
I
you
did,
make
yes.
darks? Well,
Yes.
then fantastic. You nailed the assignment. And it feels good. I think it's a nice piece. If I were to talk about like the scientific side of things, you see how this wave is coming down and then it goes all the way across here?
Yes.
These rocks would actually most likely block this wave.
Okay.
So, that's just a little bit of like, but it doesn't bother me too much. But I really like it, Sharon. I think it's quite nice. Looking at your light, your reflections coming down. This does create a very regular pattern that may well be in the reference photo. You see how it's just 3 equal stripes?
Right.
Same angle, same distance. That would be something I would hopefully catch in my own painting and be a little bit aware of. But really, all in all, I really like it. I like the little bit of warmth here, helps this come forward, just like I was just talking about. A little bit of yellow, but it's not warm. It doesn't feel like the sun. It just feels like the moon is, emitting a little bit of light, a little bit of color.
That was
I
the
would-
hardest part to do.
Yeah, isn't it funny? Those little subtle things are often that we just feel like we could just scrub in. But nice job. Your wave is really beautiful. Really feel a sense of form and structure in there. I'm really happy with it.
Thank you. Now, the other one, it's a lot different than I think most people paint. It's
Mhm.
really bright.
Mhm.
With contrasting colors.
Yep. So again, I'm just asking for the assignments of, you did great. What are the contrasting colors? Green and red. Perfect. You nailed it. Green is made of yellow and blue, and then the other primary color is red. You nailed it. I mean you literally, and it just, you can feel the electricity in that contrast, right? Green versus red is so strong in contrast. If you wanted to go back like I just did
Yeah.
and make this into a better painting, because you got the assignment, you nailed that, then I would think about, how do I cool these down? What, maybe I would mix some red and green and darken the areas of the trees that are on the shadow side away from the light source. But the truth is, I mean, for the assignment, you killed it. It's perfect.
Thank you.
It's a very electric, very alive, very dynamic painting.
It was
But
acrylic, and I'm not great with acrylics, honestly. I'm not
that's
great,
okay. You
period,
don't-
but I mean, I really struggle with acrylics.
Yeah, no worries. I don't need you to apologize for anything you're doing. Because it's all, we're all learning, we're all experimenting, and I'm asking you to do chaos. I'm asking you to really step out of your comfort zone, and you did it, and I'm very proud of you. And it's a nice picture. So if going forward you wanted to make it a little more of a harmonious, a little bit more naturalistic, what I would do is probably, make these a little bluer, a little grayer, and then getting warmer as they get towards the light, just like I just did with the glazing.
Okay.
And you can get into some of the darks. Your darkest area in the painting right now is right here, this dark green,
Yeah,
which makes these foreground areas not feel like they're really coming forward. So if you lightened up and warmed up this and then darkened up, and you could even make the shadows even get into the dark blues or even some of the blacks up here, then this area will come forward. This area will recede into space. Your sky is wonderful. I don't think you need to do much. This band right here is really, really strong. So if you wanted to, you could come back and diffuse some elements of it. It almost feels like ripped paper, like a yellow piece of paper and a red piece of paper on top of each other. But otherwise, you got all these gorgeous transitions. I mean, look at this black going to purpley plum colors into these blood reds, into these ketchupy reds. You know, it's really nice. Guess I'm
well,
getting,
thank you.
I'm talking food talk.
I
into these-
appreciate your, telling me what to do because I really didn't know.
Hmm.
You know,
Definitely not telling you what to do, just telling you what you could do.
I will fix it. I will fix it.
Great.
Here's some questions.
And Sandy, are you available to talk?
Yep.
Would you like to talk about your abstracts at all? I think we've talked
No,
about
no.
photo.
Actually, I do want to go over two, but you already critiqued them. I just want to do glazes for this week. So this one right here, I was thinking about glazing over. I'm
Perfect.
thinking about transparent red earth, but I'm not sure because I'm afraid that it's gonna make that fog too dark.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
you
go
put
the
it in
whole
very
thing with it.
thin.
So
Go- Yeah, as I say, go
would you
ahead.
would you suggest something a different color or do the whole thing in transparent red earth or what?
Why are you thinking transparent earth?
Well, because the photograph is darker. The whole thing's darker. So I just want to darken the whole painting. But I don't want to get too much darker on the fog, but slightly.
I would look to your photo and do more spot. I don't think a whole glazing is going to be beneficial, because I think these brownie reds are kind of special that you have in here. And all of a sudden the whole thing's going to take on kind of a brownish reddish, kind of a sepia tone feel to it. What I would do is almost take a band of that quinacridone red along some of these trees that they're catching the light that's dipped down behind the mountain on the other side. I think that would be enough. And then I would almost look to some of the cools, like is the fog, a little more bluish.
The photographs on top. Oh, down there.
Okay, yeah, I guess it is a little warm. So I probably wouldn't do all of it. I would just see what happens when you touch the edges with it a little bit.
What color?
But you see that hot red right along the
Yeah.
band?
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I knew the sun was ducked down behind there. That's actually what I was just trying to do in that painting I was touching up.
So just do the tops with quinacridone red.
Yeah, I mean, you could use a warmer red. Quinacridone is a little bit on the cooler side.
What other color?
Well, do you have any warm transparent reds?
Like what?
Well, for me, what would it be? Which is the one I just used? Let me see. The one I used today, which I never even touched hardly, is a naphthol red, which is a semi-transparent.
I don't have that.
Yeah.
I have
So what you can
three
do
different.
is mix just a touch of your Indian yellow, because that's
Okay.
what I did. A touch of Indian yellow just to warm up your quinacridone if you want.
Okay. Yeah. And then with the fog, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, you could put a little band of the that transparent earth red or something into here if you wanted.
Okay, but leave the front plain then? The cranberries and stuff, leave that plain?
Yeah, I mean, why don't you try glazing in and then just wipe away the fog till it feels, till you're lifting up where you want it. Because again, if you're okay to experiment on your painting,
Yeah, yeah.
um, yeah. So I see that light, and then I see back in here is also very cool. So you could, if you want to warm it up, you see how much red
Okay.
it is.
Yeah,
Could bring some of that quinacridone just much thinner and to warm some of that up. Again, the light has ducked behind these trees. So my instinct generally when my fog is in shadow is to go cooler, like bluer,
mhm.
slightly bluer with my fog. Yeah, this is such a strange photo to me because I don't know. I guess it's bouncing up off this warm sky and then bouncing back down and warming this fog up. It's an interesting thing.
Yeah, the cranberry color underneath might be making it that color too.
Sure could be. It could be the light could be going all the way through the fog, bouncing back up. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's nature's weird, man.
All right, so then way down with the deer picture, I want to glaze over the deer picture.
Okay.
Well, I think you went past it. We went past it there. So I already glazed over it once with a green on the forest floor. And I think I might have went over with a yellow for like where the leaves are lighter, but the painting came out really dark and you can't hardly see the green. This one I didn't, this photo that's on here
Yeah, let me tell you.
hasn't been glazed over yet, but I already glazed the green and it turned it really dark.
Yeah, do you know why?
Uh, because the transparent red earth and the green makes dark.
Yep. So now you need to go back in with opaque paint
Okay.
and lighten that up. So
All
that's
right.
where I'm using transparent and opaque constantly in my paintings. And looking to where can I preserve the luminosity? But yeah, if you wanted to make like the lights in these grounds, you would have probably had to wipe more away towards these light areas.
Mhm.
And then if you glazed in dark at all, yeah, it gets tough. So that's where experimentation, having a painting, because if you care about, this painting a lot, then you may want to experiment on another surface a little bit with these color combinations and kind of see what happens. One thing I've found interesting is when glazing is if I have red and then I glaze green on top, strangely is different than if I have green underneath and then I glaze red on top.
Hmm.
I'm still learning about a lot of that and experimenting. It's not a one-for-one comparison, but yeah, where you've glazed in and you're losing your you've lost the lightness, that
Yeah.
grayscale lightness, then yeah,
Mhm.
you're really your only opportunity to come back from that is to get back to the
Just
opaque paint.
okay. All right.
Or you can go in and add a light paint, like kind of like I did with the acrylic paintings where I added white over the top, or a really light color, let that dry and then glaze into that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is the problem with glazing, especially because this is, it's lighter than the darks, but it's still quite dark, right? Compared to like the as light as you could be in the deep
Mhm.
stuff.
It's a nice
All
deer
right.
picture though.
Yeah, it
Thank you.
really is nice. I love your cast shadows and I love
Yeah.
how you can follow the shadows through the piece. And yeah, You really shoot for the moon. You make very wonderfully complex imagery, which, as far as experimentation, makes it a little more tricky. But I do very much appreciate what you're doing and what you're chasing.
All right, and hopefully by next week I'll have them both finished.
Good. Just looking for a painting that I did in the past, somewhat similar to that. You guys maybe seen it.
I'm glad what you said with Shauna about the pink,
Uh-huh.
about it not being a color, but being a tint. So
Right.
that really explained a lot to me there.
Yeah, because pink is automatically cooler than red because we've added white to it.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people think of it as brighter, but you have to add a little bit of yellow to warm it back up. So pink is actually typically a cool color. So that's why, like, if I want a warm pinkish cloud, a lot of times I have to have like a light yellow and then glaze into it with transparent red. So I'm not adding white to it. I'm just, or the other way around, having a light pinkish, and then I would glaze into it with yellow. There we go. So here's kind of an example where I'm using opaque and transparent paint with a lot of cast shadows and things going on. So you can kind of see where I've left some of the transparency going through. And then if we look back in here where I really wanted it to be light, I actually went back in and punched areas with white paint
Mm-hmm.
and then glazed back into those with kind of a warmish yellow.
Okay, I think I might try that.
And then, you know,
See, my green come out like your foreground, way in foreground. It come out really dark.
yeah, and yeah,
Yeah,
it would
like
for
that.
sure. So yeah, and there's times when I had to go back, you know, just like literally almost with white, where I really wanted these kind of little highlights, splashes, and then let that dry. This is all oil, and then
Mhm.
come back in with a little bit of glaze into there, or I would just mix up the color and let it be opaque. But you know, I knew that I wanted this area, not the trees, but the area around it, to be transparent and to have that glaze. I wanted the light to go through and come back. Whereas other areas, I did want more of an opacity to it.
Thank you.
Okie doke. Sandy.
I'm here today.
Still here? All right. So yeah, we all gushed
I
over your painting last week. Hopefully you got to see that critique.
I saw the critique, so I appreciate what you had to say.
Great. Do you have anything else you would like to talk about? Doesn't look like you have anything new right now.
No, I don't have anything new, but I did want to talk about the wave painting or get a critique of the wave painting. It's slower than I think it's right there.
Okie dokie. All right. So is this the plein air that you did right after class when you're like, I'm gonna go paint the beach about 2 or 3 sessions ago?
That's right. So I used the 6 colors, but I added the green. I can't remember the name of the green. I think
Phthalo
it's
green?
not viridian. Phthalo green, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it makes such gorgeous turquoises, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So tell me a little bit about, so is this a plein air you're painting on location?
Yes.
Okay.
And
So at the beach you were at, does the wave literally just crash right onto the sand?
well, that's actually foam in the foreground. It's just rocks. I mean, it's a volcanic island. So this isn't a sandy beach. It's just in front of rocks.
All right. I'm going to apologize and say it really doesn't feel like that. This
Mhm.
doesn't feel like foam, it feels like sand. So
Okay.
you would probably want to look to what is the actual color of the foam. Is it white? Is it, whatever it is? And it's probably giving you some patterning and different effects because it feels very solid right now. It can be foam, like where it's really just a bunch of, literally just bubble, 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 and all of
Mhm.
that. But I would not have guessed that. And I barely see it now, even when you tell me that. So that's part of it. Yeah, so this is like the foam kind of disrupting the bottom of the rock and where it lays.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time visualizing. I'm going to go ahead and move beyond this area because I don't quite see it, don't quite understand it. When I look to your wave, I love your greens, they're gorgeous, and it makes me miss being on the islands. Just that beautiful translucency that you're getting through the water and everything's fantastic. Um, the wave has got a nice shape, a nice motion to it, and that is interesting. I'm wondering if there wouldn't be more waves kind of coming towards us constantly versus just a flat,
No, there weren't more waves. It's a bunch of foam out there.
bunch of foam out there. But all of a sudden, you would just get one wave kind of hitting and cracking.
Well, they come in sets, and so sometimes you get a huge wave, and then there's not really a big wave coming for a while.
Yeah, but you would have some kind of motion, some kind of a
Okay.
movement, I believe, back here to because if I looked at this, or if I even split it in half, everybody just put your hand up and cover the wave, and then just look at the water and this cloud and the sky, and then do the opposite. And it's almost two paintings. They don't quite correlate with each other. So I want, even if it's not that moment, I feel like having some kind of how did this wave occur back here? Even if they're not, even if they're only crashing here, they don't have to have white on them, but just some kind of a structure of things slowly building to this element, to this, occurrence. I think it's going to create a more cohesiveness between this bottom, almost third and the top 2/3. The other thing, and I could be completely wrong, just because I don't unfortunately live or get to be in Hawaii very often, is this gorgeous translucency generally comes from when the light is coming from, behind the waves and illuminating them. So I almost feel like the sky needs to be a little bit brighter, lighter, whatever, to be creating this effect. It looks like your clouds are top lit, your wave is fairly top lit. So this dark may be a little too dull and a little too dark to be creating this gorgeous turquoise color. But again, it's tough because you might, well, you're on a ocean beach. A volcanic beach, because a lot of times the white of the sand, will also illuminate the waves from the.
But there was no sand.
Yeah, exactly. So I really like this passage. I like your movement. I like your structure, but unfortunately, it doesn't read as very true for whatever reason. Just the elements don't go together. The glowiness, the lightness, and then all of a sudden you almost have like almost a setting sun, like dark sky, but the clouds are top lit. Yeah, so there's just a couple elements that don't read cohesively. It's not telling a story that makes sense to me.
I have a
Mhm.
question. If there's no, this is Gail, if there's no sand, then shouldn't there be more rocks in the foreground with maybe your turquoise water kind of swirling around those rocks? I mean, I've never been there, so I have no idea, but if there's no sand and it's all rocks, where are
Well,
all
it's not, I mean, some of the rocks are a lot higher than the other rocks. So when the foam comes in, it covers the rocks. But you're
Okay.
right, you could have more rocks in there.
and then maybe you could move that pretty turquoise in and around and over those rocks. I don't know. I've never been there.
Yeah,
Well, no,
maybe
and it doesn't have to be the way it is. It could be what would be pretty.
if maybe what looks like sand, it's because it's kind of pinkish beige, and your waves and the foam are not pinkish beige. I mean, I see a little bit of pink toplet, and maybe that's what you're trying to go for, but I agree that that bottom portion should either carry some of the turquoise and maybe some of the foam into what looks like sand.
Okay, that
Because
sounds
if
good.
Yeah.
it's a lava rock beach, you know, from the Midwest, that reads sand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's where having like this third eye, which is all of your new friends here on Zoom, helps. 'Cause sometimes we know what we're doing, but it doesn't read to, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't quite. Yeah, I'm not quite getting the story that you're telling me.
I might have made that beach almost the color that it really is and then gone over with thick white paint or tinted paint to make it look as though that foam is on top of those rocks. Do you understand what I mean? No.
No, I think she does. Yeah, no, I think I think she does. So Sandy, if you would do a favor, because I know this was a little rough, but going forward, I very much appreciate you painting plein air, because that's so much more difficult, as everybody knows, than painting in the studio, painting from a still photo. But if you don't mind maybe taking a photo reference kind of where you're at, that will help me to understand a little bit. You know what I mean? So I could go kind of back.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. I
that
can
would
do
be-
that.
that would be great. But anyways, nice shapes, nice, colors. I'm proud of you for doing it, but for some reason the story doesn't quite work between the different elements. There's not a cohesiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Any last questions? Do you like the new
Oh.
mean? Do you like the new mean mic?
I didn't know the old Mike.
Oh, the old
But-
Mike was the delight. You would have loved him.
I do have a question. In the critique that you did, that I listened to the recording, you said the orange and blue palm tree painting, you said this would have been better with electric blue. And I thought, well, how do you make electric blue?
Phthalo. Phthalo blue. Phthalo green will also make a really electric blue.
Okay.
But no, I mean, I like this. I think purple is a better contrast, but it reminds me of 1980s kind of heyday, really dynamic, really electric paintings. But also kind of minimalistic. So that's just what popped in my head. But yeah, to make an electric blue, use phthalo blue or a phthalo green mixed with any of the other blues will just make this super dramatic, kind of turquoisey, bright, almost neon-y blue.
Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure. And thank you. I very much appreciate your sharing it, and hopefully that wasn't too mean or too rough.
Oh no. No, I actually the week before I was painting with Ovanis, so it's been
Boy.
rough.
Yeah, did he make people cry?
No, he doesn't make people cry here.
Good. Yeah, the one I was at, I think he made like 3 or 4 different people cry. All right, Regini, where are you at?
Yeah, go down a little bit. This is not yet finished. Yeah, this one. That sunset. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, nice use of complementary contrast. Tell me a little bit about what you liked, what you would like a little bit of feedback on, what you're still working on or thinking about.
Yeah, I want the feedback, but I thought it is complete, but I don't know what else need to be done.
All right. Lovely colors, lovely contrast, very dynamic. I mean, even as a thumbnail, it reads really well. What I'm not seeing is the bottom. See this big, huge cloud?
Mhm.
I'm not sure it would dissipate so completely. Like it feels like it just loses its structure. You can have a warm edge without having all soft edges. And it's kind of the contrast of what I'm telling everybody else is lose the edges. But in here, it feels like the sun is literally so strong that it's melting that cloud away.
Mhm.
It feels like it's losing its structure underneath a touch.
Okay.
Lovely job on your reflection. You totally learned your lesson so quickly, or you didn't go from light to dark. You just go from warm to a little bit less warm. You created a nice transition. I'm appreciating what you're starting to do with your grasses compared to
Mhm.
when we first met. That
Yeah.
you're just drawing them all in. Now they're a little more, you're looking to the shape more, which I really appreciate.
Mhm.
I'm squinting my eyes. I'm scrolling across. I'm looking. I love the cool band of marine layer there. I like the fact that your lights are cooler away from the light. My eye is drawn towards the darks in a couple different spots that are a little inconvenient.
Uh-huh.
This is really dark over here.
Okay. Yeah.
Which draws my eye. And then you have these interesting dark spots.
Oh yeah, I realized that I should have changed it.
Yeah. I don't mind, and they could be dark because they're, in full shadow, like the light's not getting to them. But the fact that they're right in the corner,
Mhm.
yeah, just one thing I want you to write down for yourself as
Mhm.
a check on your final checklist when you're kind of like, okay, I've finished the painting, I'm feeling pretty good, and then you ask yourself a couple questions to review
Mhm.
is, am I using my lights and my darks to the best that I can, or am I distracting? Because like this is your darkest dark in this whole area. These are by far and away much darker than any of this. If these were the same value as here,
Mhm.
it would just, but my eye really wants to go here.
Yeah. Yeah.
The whole band of this far back here, this is dark, 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 dark. I would lighten that just a touch. It doesn't have to be, as
Mhm.
light as, but then my eye will be able to come forward
Yeah.
towards these darks. But I do want to have a caveat with that is that you can put your darks where the focal area is or up near the focal area, because again, the contrast will attract the eye. So you can use light and dark in a non-realistic manner
Mhm.
when using it to control the viewer's eye and eye movement.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you don't want my eye focusing here and you don't want my eye focusing here.
Yeah. Yeah. I
You want my
understand.
eye in here, you want my eye along here, like basically this area. And then the rest of it is the supporting cast to this. How's that?
Yeah. So you think the area near the sun is too dark?
No, no, no. No, this area away from the sun
Oh,
is almost too dark.
okay.
Think about cool more
Mhm.
than dark.
Okay.
That way the darks will come forward. But like some of my favorite paintings don't have the darkest areas in the foreground.
Yeah.
Richard, his work.
Yeah.
Yeah, he keeps his darks. He uses his darks to tell the viewer where to look and how to look. Like you literally, you look here first, look here second, look here third. So his darks are rarely in his foreground. He reserves them, but his paintings are a little bit more abstract. He kind of bleeds out the detail in the edges. But I guarantee you don't want me looking here as long and as often as I look here.
Yeah, yeah.
What's
Or
the artist's name? Richard?
Schmidt, SCHMIDT.
DT. It is DT.
Yep, DT. Yeah, he's one of the most famous. He passed away, what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? And almost every living, amazing American painter that we celebrate now studied with him, except for me. Just kidding. I never ever got to meet him. Oh no, that's not true. I went to dinner with him one time.
Wow.
Anyways, he used his darks differently, but he's not trying to tell a fully realistic story. He's not painting like a photo. Like he wouldn't have his shadows here, he wouldn't have his shadows here possibly. Because he's thinking more of how he wants you to move through space.
Yeah.
All right, Nyla.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm here.
All right, is this the one you'd like us to look at and talk about?
Yes. I don't know where in my ADD brain I missed out on the contrasting colors. I put down as my assignment, paint a warm and cool painting.
Well, warm and cools are contrasting.
And you've
And
got the
it
yellows
could
and
be-
purples.
Yeah, it could be, yeah, exactly. You got yellows and purples, and it can be as strong or as subtle as you want. And I think you've done a very good job. In the references, when I was talking about his paintings, he has one that's like that, and then the next one I shared is like that, right? So it's still contrasting, but he's made it very subtle, especially compared to that, right?
Yes.
You have done the same thing as the more subtle version of it, which is great, and a much more naturalistic. You use it a lot closer to how I use it. What I did want is for people just to realize it, and warm and cool, or purple and yellow, or but a lot of times I'll use like purple and yellow beside each other to make a contrast, but I'll do what you've done. I'll gray them down and make them earthier. So they're a little more naturalistic, but this painting is anything but boring, right? It's still punchy. It's still dynamic. You've still got a lot of movement. You still got a warm light and cool shadows. I mean, I think this is a very lovely piece. And one thing I really like, but I'd be curious to ask you, is your angles. That it's much more dynamic because you got this angle of the hill here. You've got this tree leaning, you got these trees leaning. This could have been a very stagnant, like, looking in a forest, but because you've added angles, there's implied movement, and angles are just make paintings more exciting. Uprights create strength, complete horizontals create quiet or stillness, and you don't have any of those. This whole painting, everything in it is at an angle, which is really nice.
Thank you.
It's a quiet scene. You chose quiet colors, cool blues, light earthy colors in your lights, but it's still not a stagnant piece. So very nicely done. Let's see if I can attack it a little bit just so you feel like you weren't left out.
I did roll my leaves this time instead of pouncing.
Man, so I don't even get to attack that, because yeah, look at that. Look how much more organic and naturalistic when you look to the form and you look to the shape, and you're not just going stamp, this brush equals one leaf and there's 1 million leaves, stamp, 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 stamp. But instead you're looking to these. I mean, I just love these little variations in shape. I feel like you're learning very quickly, Nyla.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love that hillside.
Yeah. I mean, I really have very little feedback on this right now. I'm gonna let somebody else help me out, folks. What can we what do we wish was different or that she could improve in this painting?
I kind of feel dizzy when I look at it
Yeah.
because the trees on the left are leaning right and the trees on the right are leaning left.
Yep. That's what that is gonna be my question. So yeah,
That's
good
kind of
observation.
typical Mississippi. When we have ice storms and things like that, a lot of times it makes those pine trees move over under the weight, and it takes them years to straighten back up. So I'm used to seeing areas where the trees are slanted. Sometimes tornadoes do that. We have, if you notice, I did the samplings more straight because they hadn't been affected by the bad weather that these big ones had been.
It's also the moisture in the soil from all the rain that you get in the south, because I've
Mhm.
painted southern scenes and trees are leaning in all directions. And I did one painting for my cousin, and he went out and had to go look at the scene, the area that I painted for him that he wanted me to paint for him. And he said, you know, Linda, those trees really are leaning like that. And trees do lean like that in the south, one way or the other, just like she's got it.
Interesting.
So
I
I
just
really
made that
think
song in my head.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful painting.
it
Yeah,
is.
I love it.
thank you.
I love that it's just not stagnant. It's got so much movement and action, and it's really good. These darks, darks, I can't tell in the photo, in the shadow here, and then this black tree. If you're just using a straight black, I'm not quite seeing, you know, you could have a little more color in there, but that's me really getting picky on you. This dark band here feels a little bit possibly over dark. But I'm getting picky, Nyla. I think it's a really nice piece.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Sometimes I used kind of brown and black mixed, and sometimes just brown, and sometimes black because I wanted a lot of variation from, basically shadows from the little plants and things, roots.
Yeah, I just feel this dark spot here maybe is a touch dark, but again, that's just me really wanting to hurt your feelings and pick on you somehow. But
Well, thank you, Michael.
yeah, I did not want you to feel left out. All right,
Oh my God.
nicely done.
Good.
Michelle, you want to talk about a color wheel? What would you like?
Oh, no, that's okay. You can, I didn't get to painting like I wanted to this week, so you can move along.
That's cool. I've seen these in people's yards where they spin in the wind.
I actually copied or tried to match one of the printouts for the complementary colors, and it was kind of more difficult. The purples and the reds were difficult, but
I can see you
close
added
enough.
white. You added white to this.
Yes.
To make it not so dark, which yep, that's just the problem with chroma, right? When you're mixing just pigments together, they can get so dark. So anyways, it's lovely. And I would love to have it in my front yard blowing in the wind. All right. Lisa, were you able to get a chance to listen to us talk about your paintings last
I
week?
did. Thank you so much. Yeah, so you can just move along. Thank you.
We gushed over some of these. There's some really interesting, fun things going on, and thank you for that. Linda.
Thank you. They're older. Those are things that I did before I started studying with you. So
Oh,
the
why'd you
colors
tell
are
me?
different.
Why'd you tell me? Never
Sorry.
mind. I hear you. I'm gonna delete that part of the recording. Great job.
Sorry.
Thank you for painting during class and keeping up. No, but I appreciate it. That was good examples of what I was asking. Hoping. So Linda, beautiful painting. Tell me a little bit about, is this the one you want to talk about first?
Yes, that's the only one there. I liked it when I finished it, but now that it's dried and I've photographed it, I painted it like, I don't know, the day after class, right after class, and and it was real slippery when I went in to try to put more like lights in the trees and stuff like that and in the distance. So I think I'll go back in and play with that. And the water, I'll figure out, put more lights in the water.
Right. What I would actually do is darken your hills. I know that in the photo that it appears so light and bright. And I'm trying to figure out how to make a copy. Download attachment. That's what I want to do.
Because the photo, the hills were really light in the,
Yes, indeed. Yes,
Yeah,
indeed
they were.
so I can darken the hills.
What they are though is they are light, but they're mostly high chroma. They're just super bluish, like a light blue.
Yeah.
Let's see if I
Yeah.
can open it. Hopefully it opens this file. There we go. So I'm just going to bring that over here. And what we're going to do, Linda, is we're just going to quickly take that in. We're going to adjust it. And I'm just going to take the color out of it.
Okay.
And now what happens is, see this far back hill? And I
Right.
knew this was going to happen, is lighter than your sky.
And it looks like water.
Yeah.
It's like
So
water.
that can happen under certain circumstances, but it's not what's happening.
Okay.
I'm now quickly trying to find the reference. Do I have it on that file? I do not.
And
You
the
guys,
dark,
all
the
your
dark
pretty faces are sitting right on top of it here on my desktop. So now I'm going to bring up the original, Linda, and let's see what happens when I turn this to black and white. So what we're doing is looking at this contrast between this hill and this hill.
Okay.
I don't have much contrast either.
So did you see that? This is still, even though it's very high chroma, right? It's
Yeah.
bright blue.
Yeah.
But you are what happened there, and this is so common, and it happens with so many painters, including myself all the time, is that we mistake bright and light. It is so hard when we need to think about values and how do colors translate to values and how do values translate to colors. That our brain, it just does it. It just mistakes bright for light. You've heard that story I told about when I realized that I couldn't make yellow yellower than out of the tube, and I was trying to paint those bright little yellow flowers on the ground.
Yeah.
And I was freaking out. I'm like, I can't make these yellower. And then the teacher came over and just put a little dash of purpley gray next to it, and it made the yellows even look yellower.
Right.
So that was in that same week of lessons, painting plein air. That's when I really started to realize is that the difference, because that flower was bright yellow, but it wasn't light yellow. So if I added white to try to make it brighter, it was making it duller and cooler. So I had to do something else. So in your instance, if you wanted it to be the color that you have it, if you were just like, nope, that is perfect, that's the color I want for my background hill. I'm not saying that's the case. Don't need to say anything yet. I would have to go back and make the sky lighter. But because the sky is really quite beautiful and you have these interesting, then I just need to make that a little darker. Once you make that a little darker, what happens? Oh, this needs to be a little darker. Oh, what? Now that's a little dark. Okay, now this, on and on it goes.
Yeah.
Painting is a pain in the butt.
One
One thing affects everything. I mean, that's that whole wave painting. It's just like I changed one element in the wave, like, oh, I want it crashing on a rock. Now everything else needs to be changed. Same thing happens all the time with color, where people will be just like, well, I just want to make this a little bit warmer on the top because the light's skimming across and lighting this, and they'll bring a little bit of warmth into this, and all of a sudden everything else is out of whack because everything is comparative.
Very true.
So yeah, you're so good. I really appreciate you. You just
The input.
do what I ask over and over and over, and I just keep beating up on you. But I think
try.
no, you're learning so much, and I appreciate it. And all these lessons are so hard won. Nobody gets this. Nobody gets this information for free. You have to get it through the School of Hard Knocks.
I know, and you've knocked me on the head a couple of times, but that's okay.
You're welcome.
You see the dark in the sky? I forgot to turn my board. This is wood and it's on wood. And I don't know what happened when I was finishing the wood, but I had two little shiny spots. So the only way I could not make them show, and I still see them. So I don't know. I'm gonna go back and do something else in that area to try to make the clouds look a little better.
Your colors are beautiful. They just don't quite work. So yeah, nice job on that. I mean, I love these purples and yellows, and I think these blues and icy blues are really nice. But unfortunately, it just doesn't quite, again, tell the story that we're trying to tell. It doesn't quite work as a cohesive piece.
Right.
But you have lots of nice individual elements. Now we just need to make them a cohesive whole.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you, Mike.
Yeah, and then you just saw what I did to test it. Like,
Right.
it's just that
Yeah,
simple.
sure.
Take a picture with your phone and
Yep, I did.
desaturate. You can also just put on your reddest glasses and you'll see values that way. There's lots of different things you can do. Put it in a dark room where it's low light, and all of a sudden you'll see, you guys see that all the time when I'm up at the easel. I'll just turn my lights off. And it just helps me to see the values. Are they reading as clearly as I want them to?
Like even this light spot between that, like the second and third mountain here range, it needs to be darker.
Probably. I mean, it doesn't bother me too much. I probably wouldn't just take it as a line all the way up. I'd probably let it be darker here. And because if it is fog that's separating them, probably isn't, the fog on that hill doesn't know this hill exists.
Yeah,
So
right.
it wants to go back into there.
Yep. I love fog. We have fog
you're
on the side today.
Linda, you're in a good place. Truthfully, if this gets dry, you can glaze in with your blues.
Yes.
And,
I think I'm gonna do that, Michael. Thank you.
and then yeah, you could lighten your bottom
Okay.
of the thing. I don't know, whatever you want to do. But yeah, nice
Okay.
job. I
I'll
appreciate
lighten.
it. And I think we every single one of us, including myself, either learned or were reminded of a good lesson. And this is too dark, just sitting out there.
Here, okay. I'll fix it.
Great. Thank you, Linda. All right, Gail, is this the 1 week you didn't paint 10 paintings? What's going on?
It is the 1 week I didn't do 10 paintings. I've got
All right.
well, I've got a couple I'm working on, but nothing to show.
All right, well, I will look forward to seeing them tomorrow if you're able to join me painting.
Yep.
Great. And everybody remember that reminder that tomorrow 9 to noon
Yeah.
is communal painting if you would like to join us.
Same Zoom or
Same Zoom, same back channel, same back time.
That's good. Okay.
Great. And Donna, and then you know what, guys, I do need to bail. We are an hour over. I apologize.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of gorgeous work.
Mm-hmm.
We just like to listen to you, Michael. I'm sorry.
Well, that's fun because I like to listen to me, so it works out really well. All right, but Donna, let's finish with you. Are you here, Donna?
Which one?
Cyrus. No?
I guess she's not.
Okay. Well, we'll
This
do
is
a quick
beautiful.
peek. We'll just do, I'm gonna do the 1 minute. All in all, Donna, if you get a chance to look at this, beautifully done. I think a little bit more transition here, but if you don't know this scene and know that there's this big drop off along this cliff face, this is really good. I think it reads really well. I think if we just did like with Linda, this does feel a little bit light, but the fact that the top of it is darker and then this feels like fog or haze sitting back there, which happens all the time in the gorge. It's not too bad, but I think maybe a touch more chroma or slightly darker back here possibly. And this is the tricky part when you have a lot of areas in shadow and then they get a little bit of light. This is probably a touch lighter.
Really good.
I'm sorry, was somebody saying something?
I think it's very, very good.
It is
Actually.
very, very good. Yeah, yeah. It's really nice. I think that this is like 10 minutes away from being really quite good. To create the separation from this line to this back here, because this whole area is sitting right on that water. It's way down there. This is quite a bit higher. Trying to find the photo. Maybe I already shut it down. Okay, it looks like I shut it down. Oh, here. So you can see the what's that little pop up? You can see the transition here. It's a little warmer in the lights and a little darker in the darks than down there. So isn't that interesting how when we look at the photo, we can tell that this band of trees is much closer and higher up than this band of, this area of trees. So what you need to do, all of us, including me, is look into it and say, what is that difference? How do I know that this is closer than that? Partly it's the trees are bigger. Partly it's that the brights or the warms are a little bit warmer. And then the shadows are darker, right? They're a little warmer and the shadows a little darker, and they get a little cooler, a little bluer as they recede back into space. So there's that differentiation. And then, yeah, just the little highlights. Let's desaturate it. And you'll see that these are lighter. What is that? They're lighter a little bit. And
Really
a
good.
little bit more of a, just not blue chroma. They're just not as bluish. They're a little warmer. Great job, Donna. Yeah, it's a lovely piece. Yeah, I think literally 10 minutes, 20 minutes away from, maybe some stronger shadows, a little bit warmer warms, and then down here, conversely, a little bit cooler shadows, a little bit lighter shadows. Dealing with the light hitting the tops, because it feels like where the light's hitting is actually darker than the gray. If we were to turn this into a black and white. But I'm being nitpicky. Nice job. All right, Donna, let's see if we can get you in here, just because we didn't spend so much time with Donna Sayers.
I am walking to the beat of my own drummer, and I'm not done yet by any means. Now I know what I have to do after today's lesson about the lighting and getting rid of some spots and, strengthening some things. And I haven't finished the sky, I haven't finished the water, so I'm still in process.
Yes, I mean, you've got a lot of really nice things going on. Notice the meaner you are to yourself, the nicer I will be right away to you.
No.
Can download this, save as. I'm gonna pull it into yep. And then I'm hoping to open it in Photoshop real quick, just to do a couple quick shifts.
Good. I'll take them.
Open, open, open. Can I open with? Nope. Open with. There we go. Open with Photoshop, please. Popped up. All right. Everybody sees my Photoshop?
Yes.
All right. So we've got Donna's painting in here. I'm just going to do a couple quick things that are hopefully going to change it up a little bit. And I'm looking towards the big shapes and the depth. A little bit. Sorry, my other monitor's being a little bit crazy right now. So first off do you see this straight line that you've made here?
Right.
Everything is connected. In the photo, it's definitely got a separation where there's the, hills behind other hills.
Right.
So let's deal with that really quickly. I'm just going to grab a color. I just feel like I'm searching so blindly when I'm on this Photoshop. Where is my little picker tool, my little color picker?
Not the one that's already highlighted?
There it is. Tunk. There it is. So I'm just picking that blue and use that as a paintbrush. And I'm just going to, yes, please. I'm just going to use that a little bigger than that. Otherwise, we'll be here for days. Now, what I'm going to do, Donna, is I'm just going to take the bottom of that and I'm just going to straighten it out a little. It's not a full straightness. So what I will often do is kind of imagine a line like this, you know, and imagine, you know, I can bring in a couple of them kind of where so that the hills are kind of going back into space. And so I know that it's not fully flat. Like if I just put a line, why is it not letting me paint? If I just made it straight, it would look ridiculous. Right? Because there's no depth to that.
Right.
So I know it's not that. Let's get rid of those extras. Right? We know it's not that. That's too much. So let's get rid of that. And let's see what if we just met in the middle.
Oh, bingo.
You see how the water
Yeah.
feels it's coming towards us a little
Much
more?
better.
Yeah.
So do the same thing here, but I'm actually gonna cut your hill off a little bit. I'm gonna start it back here. And then it's gonna come back to right there. And then it's gonna go back to there and then there.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Now I'm gonna pick a color. I'm just gonna make that darker. I'm just gonna go, I'm gonna be lazy about it, Donna. I'm not picking the right colors. I'm just picking hopefully closer values. So then we know that there's a hill back here. And it's much bluer. You got really warm and gray.
Yeah, I know.
It's fine. And maybe that's what you're accustomed to where you live or whatever. And so you could tell me why if you ever wanted to. Wouldn't matter.
I've asked the class for any input, any criticism, anything that will help me improve because I can use every bit of advice I can get.
I think we all feel that way.
Yeah, I was gonna say you, me, everybody here. Yeah.
I need it, sure.
Before you cover it up, I really like that texture back there. It's not what you wanted or where you want it, but I love that the texture in that purple and green area back there.
Okay. The grayish kind of area there. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm still learning my color mixing and having a kind of a tough time of it, quite frankly.
It's a club.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I like that combination.
Thank you.
Yeah, so all I'm doing, hopefully, and I know, again, I'm not spending any effort picking the right, blues and everything else. Hopefully just a little bit lighter, a little bit brighter. And
my husband said the same thing when he looked at it, though.
What did he say?
Well, he said the mountains. He said, your mountains aren't blue. I said, yeah. Thanks.
Greatest criticism comes from our spouses.
Always.
Absolutely.
But the glazing today also helps me realize to finish off when I do get to that point that this painting, how absolutely fabulous it can look because of the beautiful lighting.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I actually like your colors in your sky. I'm not
Mhm.
again making your sky is beautiful. It just your shapes are wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just
Gotcha.
kind of so you see how I just ducked these down?
I do.
They recede into space, they get smaller. Your mount, you made a straight line up the water, which you know they're not all connected.
Right.
And
Mountain shapes.
and then the mountains, see how these all of a sudden just just so
Yes.
simple, right? I just picked a couple blues, a little lighter, a little brighter, or whatever. You're not even saying that that's right, you know, but oops. Where do we want to go? I don't know. Let's go there. Yeah, it doesn't take too much.
Right.
Let's look to those big shapes. So if you literally how I describe painting in the beginning to some of my students and help, you know, let me know if this makes any sense. But you know those little kid puzzles? I mean, I'm talking little kid puzzles like toddlers, and they have a handle on the puzzle pieces, like a little knob sticking out, and the puzzle piece is the thing, like, oh, the puzzle piece is a barn, this puzzle piece is a cow, right? So imagine this, what I'm about to do is a handle.
Cool.
Imagine this is a handle. Imagine that's a handle.
Right.
Right? So I'm like, hey, can you help me? I've got to do a puzzle. It's, you know, this many pieces.
Oh God.
Right? But it's basic because it's like a it's like a posterized image, right? So you just want to make sure that you get your big shapes in the right shapes in the right place.
Okay.
Just like a simple puzzle. And then you can come through and, you know, make this beautiful texture. You know what I mean? And all these little beautiful separations. But what's the use of making all of this wonderful work when your jerk of a teacher is just going to come over and paint over the whole thing because it's not in the right spot? How do I at all, right? You know what I mean?
Right. Yes, I do. I know exactly what you mean. I did a lot of that today. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Oh, that's not right. Now I got to change everything, you know?
Yes, and that is, but it's better to do it at the beginning so that I'm not painting over those beautiful brush marks that Cheryl was just telling you, because I just obliterated them because I needed to get the shape back, the big formations.
Right.
And that's what I talk about is like, I like painting, I don't like fixing, because so much of fixing means I have to go over, but I've made the most beautiful green here, you know, but I have to cover it to make it right. And so we want to make sure we get the right shapes and the right values, whether or not you paint like I do, or you do black and white or monochromatic underpainting, I don't care. But you want those right shapes and those right values so that your colors can sing and your brushwork can play.
Makes great sense. I thank you very much for that info. Really. Great sense.
Puzzle piece.
Another puzzle.
The puzzle piece. Does that make sense to everybody, you guys, when I say that?
Yeah.
Yes. This water could truly be all flat.
Yeah.
You know, or it could be like it's a little lighter up here and then it gets, you know, a little bit darker here.
Yeah.
Whatever. And that's all a puzzle piece.
Right.
And once you get those big shapes, then we go in and break these puzzle pieces into more puzzle pieces.
Got it.
puzzle piece, puzzle piece. Right. And then we create the transitions and the subtle things. Look for the big shapes first.
Okay.
Look for the how simple can I do the values? The detail will come.
Okay.
Promise. It feels so weird. And I remember in like one of my first painting classes from a good painting teacher, somebody that actually knew how to paint, just telling me start simple. And I just felt like, no, I want to paint all the stripes in this little apple and this still life right away. You know, I want to paint the stem on this little apple right away. He's like, no, you don't even have an apple yet. Start with the apple, the big shape of the apple, break the apple into its light side and its shadow side. Then break the light side into two values and break the shadow side into two values or two temperatures or whatever set, right? And then begin to look for the detail.
Got it.
But if we just try to detail all the time, oh, we'll drive ourselves mad.
I hear you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, you guys let me know next week if you still like Mean Mike. And yeah. But yeah, great work.
Thanks, Michael.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lovely. Man, I really like what's going on here.
I like
So I
that.
apologize, you guys, that I didn't get to everybody again. 3 minutes is really tough, as you can tell. But I think we're all learning along the way. And next week we'll start with you, Ashley. Okay, great.
You could
Perfect, guys.
See you tomorrow.
See some of you tomorrow, as many as
Yeah,
you-
I'll be here tomorrow, probably
Yes.
12:30 or so.
I'll be here
Great.
tomorrow.
Get to
Yeah.
see me cry as I try to figure out what the heck to do with wave painting. But thank you for all your
Michael-
help, and I will try to have these whatever 6 videos or whatever we broke today into out to you guys soon. And yeah, your homework is to make a painting and to start something bigger, you know, more involved, whatever it takes, whatever elements you want to focus on. This is your opportunity to put all the lessons or some of the lessons or one of the lessons, whatever was most exciting to you and whatever image you want to paint. And let's, you know, slow it down a little bit and help each other along the way as we're
But the
struggling.
final thing is not done, not really due for 2 weeks.
Yeah, so if you want real feedback, it kind of should be done on the last class.
next
I
week.
always say I'll go back and visit and critique you guys after class, but I never do. But the Padlet page will stay open. So please do, you know, if you're not finished or if you keep working on it after the end of class, you know, you can continue to put images up. But yeah, the critique will be the final class. So
When is that class? When is the final class? Sorry.
Oh, the
2 more weeks.
The 21st.
21st.
Oh yeah, that's easy math. 3 times 7.
Okay.
21st. So you guys have 2 weeks, 6 days, and 21 hours. Go.
Thank you, Michael.
Awesome,
Thanks,
guys.
Michael.
Everybody take care.
One
See you
week.
Thank you,
tomorrow.
Michael.
Goodbye.
Bye.
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 Oh, I want to leave.